One of my favorite barbecues that says nothing more than Memorial Day is some ribs, right? So what I got here is a St. Louis cut spare rib. And basically the difference for a St. Louis cut spare rib and a regular spare rib is just the tips. You got a brisket bone and tips on the top that has been removed, and that's what makes it a St. Louis cut. So all I'm gonna do here is pretty simple. I'm gonna take this membrane off the back of the ribs. You could get a spoon and just get right underneath there. What's this gonna do, this skin on the back is actually protecting you from getting your flavor into the meat. So you want to get that membrane out, take the back of a spoon, and then just kind of pull that off the back. Now, I want to season my rib. Before I season my rib, I want to put a little bit of glue, I like to call it, and all this is some grapeseed oil. Put a little grapeseed oil on the back and the front of the rib, liberally, and this is what's going to make your rub stick, is that oil. So now you're going to want to liberally put that down onto the back side of your rib. Now that you have the membrane off of the back, now you have the flavor that can penetrate in between the bones and into that meat. And again, I do this right before I'm putting this on the grill. I don't do this 24 hours ahead of time. I know that's some people's theory. I find that salt dries out the meat and it actually starts curing the meat. So I'll do this before I even start my grill and my fire. So what I'm gonna do is let these ribs sit here after it's nice and rubbed in, right? Let that rub kind of really penetrate and sweat into the meat, get all of that good flavor in there. Now I'm gonna go start that fire on the grill. In order to be a pit master, you need to know how to master your pit. Don't let the pit master you. So a lot of people, including my dad back in the days, till I showed him a better way into lighting charcoal, is getting a whole bunch of lighting fluid. And then now your food tastes like lighting fluid, right? Nobody likes that taste. So they have things that you could buy in the store. You could get like little tweeds of hay to start your chimney, and you would just put it underneath your chimney and light it. I'm gonna show you a way, just in case, saves you a trip to the store like myself. I don't have any of the lighting starters. I got a little bit of hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer has alcohol. Alcohol is flammable, right? I got just an old bag of charcoal paper, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to light that right underneath and get your hand out the way. Right underneath the chimney. And what that's going to do is it's going to start and it's going to ignite the charcoal that I just put in. Now the charcoal I use is not just regular chunks, and you can use your typical charcoal. I get a lump wood. What I like about the lump wood charcoal is that it's actually wood. So you're getting a wood flavor and then also your charcoal flavor with your meal, with your taste or your flavor. That's good for burgers, whatever you want, and it's not going to be overpowering. And again, without using lighting fluid and just using a couple of drops of hand sanitizer, that's a good way to ignite the fire and get everything lit without it being overpowering and tasting that lighting fluid through your meal. So you just want to kind of let your chimney go. Once you start seeing the flame coming on top, that's when you'll be able to, that's when you know your charcoals are ready to hit it and drop it into your smoker or your grill. Now you see the flame nice and up on top of that on the charcoal. That's when you know that your charcoal is nice and ready. So your ones at the bottom is nice and cherry red. And if you notice, I'm throwing the charcoal in on one side of the grill and not evenly putting it on the other side. And that's going to create a two-stage cook. So over top of the flame is called direct heat. On the other side is indirect heat. And what you want to do is put your ribs on the indirect side because you have to get them cooked. Otherwise, if you cook them right over the top, you're going to burn them, it's going to char, and it's going to be raw in the middle. So now look at these ribs. the rub has actually penetrated right into that meat and it's adhered to the meat. All I'm gonna do is place that rib rack away from the heat and cover it and let it do its thing. So now you have that charcoal and that lump charcoal going, so you got wood and charcoal flavor that's going to cook that meat. I'm gonna say in about 2 hours, I'm going to, well, actually in an hour, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna flip it and check it, making sure that nothing is, you know, flared up on me, and check the temperature. But what I'm gonna do is I'm going to look to see once that gets to 165 internally and show you my next step. All right, so I've had this rib on for about an hour and 15 minutes. I flipped it already, and it is about halfway to the halfway point I want it. It's sitting at a temperature of 165, but look at how beautiful this looks. It's not burnt. I mean, the rub has really adhered to the meat. You want to take that off, and I'm going to show you what I do next to it to get a nice tender bite. This is my trick for some nice tender ribs. I add a little butter and I wrap it at the halfway point. Once I get it to about 156 to 165, this is about the time. I add a little butter to the aluminum foil. Then I add a little bit of brown sugar for a little sweetness. And it depends on your rub. If your rub is already real sweet, maybe you don't want to do that. And then again, you could tell that your rib is at your halfway point because you can't scratch off the rub. This rub is really adhered to the meat. Look at the backside, it's not burnt at all. I'm gonna do the same thing for the backside, add a couple of pieces of butter. And then what I wanna do is kind of wrap this up nice and tight, creating a packet. And the way I do that is I kind of even it up at the top, fold it down once, twice, and you want to get it nice and tight, because what you're trying to do is get a nice tight pack, because this is called braising the rib. So you already smoked it, you already grilled it, and now just adding a nice tender profile to the rib and a nice bite, you're going to braise it. And what you need to braise it is a little bit of liquid. And all I have here is a little bit of apple juice. You could use apple juice, pineapple juice, whatever your heart desires. You don't want to fill it up too much, but you just want to add a little bit of liquid. So when you put it back on the grill, it's actually starting a nice simmer and some steam. So it's going to seam and braise that rib. All right, so same thing here. You're gonna put it on the indirect side of your grill. Leave that packet there. Now I'm gonna check on that in about 45 minutes. My finished temperature that I'm looking for is about 202 in between the bone. Just take that thermometer, go in between the bone. At that point, it's supposed to feel like butter, and it's not supposed to give you any resistance. We got our lovely ribs. Woo, look at that moisture from the braise of that butter, that sugar, and that apple juice. Front of them, a nice mahogany with no barbecue sauce. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start cutting these puppies. I like to cut them meat side down. See, and when you have it upside down, you can actually see in between the bone, and you know you got a good rib when it just cuts perfectly. And then you can spin them around and add your favorite barbecue sauce. I got a nice little sticky barbecue sauce here. Gives it a nice sheen. I add apple jelly. You can also use some clear corn syrup to your favorite barbecue sauce to get you a nice little sticky barbecue. And that's it. That's Memorial Day to me, baby, you know? And then with the extra meat, right? You got that nice tender meat. What you want to do for the next day is break that down. You want to take some meat, saute that with some onions and garlic, put that at the bottom of the pan. Then you got some mac and cheese that you made, right? That could be your side dish for Memorial Day. Add a little cheddar on top, and then you want to bake that for about 20-30 minutes at 350 degrees. And then when you finish, you got some nice mac and cheese, shepherd's pie with that barbecue rib at the bottom. That's love right there. That's the day after Memorial Day, and that's the day of. Thank you. Fill the grill.